Hey, everybody. How's it going? These have been incredible presentations, and we're in the home stretch right now. So if you'll indulge me, will you just stand up for a minute? Get a stand up and give yourself a good stretch. All right. You ready? Ready for the last one? Okay. So I'm Darren Hoerner. You may recognize me in a couple of different areas. One at the farmer's market as a farmer for Lopez Village Farm, but then I also work at the library. So my background really, and John Bredesen is my husband and as well as business partner, and he can't make it here today, so I'm representing for both of us. The reality is neither of us had any background in farming. I was working for a family foundation for 20 some years. My background is as a librarian, and I worked with public libraries around the world. I worked in about 80 different countries, working with the governments of those countries to look at their public library systems and try to understand what do the communities need and how do you transform those libraries so that they're better meeting their needs. That type of a job meant that a typical commute for me would be to fly from Seattle to Botswana, Botswana to Senegal, Senegal to Brazil, Brazil to France, France to Botswana, Botswana to Seattle. And that was really incredible work. I loved the people that I worked with. It was really impactful to see how working with public libraries changed people's lives, but it was a grueling type of work as well. I felt completely disconnected from nature and seasons because I would get on a plane somewhere in wintertime and then I'd get off the plane and be summertime. And my husband and I, we were trying to figure out how do we set down roots because he had similar type of work where he was traveling all the time for a biotech company. And we both grew up in Washington State and we're from here. And we thought, well, we should move somewhere far, far away and try something completely different. And we ended up on Lopez. Yeah. It was the best choice we could make. And so that's where we feel like now we are in an area where we are living our values. We are watching the seasons change, and it's a beautiful thing. And growing produce for the community and having a farm is a big part of that. So you can see right here, here's an aerial view of part of our property. The farm is just right in front there. We are a micro farm. We're growing on less than 1/10 of an acre. Most of our property is forest, and we intend to leave it as forest and just grow on our little spot of land here. Before we actually moved here, my husband said, you need to know what you're getting into. And so he said, you need to stay a month or so in February, maybe, on Lopez. And so rented the house for the month. And it was one of those Februarys where it was just pitch black and it was rainy and it was wet and there was nothing open. And I called him up and I said, this is it, we're here. Perfect. For an introvert, this is like the lifestyle. And so we did. We made the investment. We found a place to live. We found this property that has incredible sun. And I'm going to show you what we did with it. So this is how it started. It was just a plain field, and there'd been dogs running on it. That's about it, and rabbits. We had to have all of our water installed, electricity installed, fencing, hoop house. We really bootstrapped everything. And so just a couple little photos as we went along. One interesting thing is we first did the beds, we double dug them and then stopped doing that because my back was killing me. And I realized that now, many years later, the ones that we did a double dig didn't really make any difference to the other ones. So I'm glad we didn't do any more than that. And it started to grow over time, and we had a lot of fun putting this in. This is what it looks like now, which you can see, this is the librarian in me. Very straight lines, everything's rowed and measured out. We did this for years and years. And then the last couple of years, I decided I am just gonna let it go. And it's incredible because it may look a little bit more chaotic, but the productivity and the flavor and the size has just gone through the roof. And I attribute it to having living pathways and more diverse plants in the soil at all times. And also we do a lot of chop and drop. So anytime that we're pulling plants out, we leave the roots in the soil. Anything that we would normally take to a compost bin just literally drops next to us. So it looks a mess, but it's the healthiest and happiest this garden has been. Now, when we started, this is my dog, Miha. She's a very good dog. She's actually incredible. She doesn't step on any of the beds. And she loves vegetables, but she won't take them unless we hand them to her. It's a perfect dog for the farm. So this was us getting really excited about our first year entering the farmer's market. We had been planning for this and putting the infrastructure in for more than a year. And we were set. We had all of our seeds started for the farmer's market season, which, you know, starts in May. So we get our seeds, we're starting them in January and February. And we had things going on full throttle. This was 2020. And we all know what happened then. So this is our first farmer's market. We had no idea what was going to go on. And I don't think anybody did really. What I love about this farmer's market picture is this is the beginning of the market, and we have one bunch of scallions out there, and we were super excited and proud of them. We've grown a little bit since then. It was really, I want to write a book about how to start a market garden during a pandemic, because the lessons learned are just something we didn't expect. We thought we had months and months of ability to get inventory and things in place before the farmer's market, and everything shut down, as you know, all at once. So we were looking for everything, the basics of packaging. You'll see a lot of Ziploc bags. It's all we could find at the time. We couldn't get any sort of proper compostable packaging out here at all. We were just scraping the bottom of the barrel to find anything to help us have some sort of a presentation, including using old wine crates for our market stand, which then became kind of our signature. And so, yeah, it works nicely. And even seeds at that time. Everybody was turning inward and growing gardens, and seeds were hard to find, really hard to find. And luckily, because we were a commercial grower, we were able to still buy from seed companies that wouldn't sell to the public anymore. So we kind of took whatever we could get. The other thing that we really were surprised at the farmer's market, you know, here we are, brand new to the island, and you can't see who we are. And so we put a little sign out next to our farm stand so you could see our smiles. And that helped out. And honestly, for the first year and a half, we didn't know the faces of most of our customers. Customers that we love that have become really, really good friends. We were surprised at how much of a community comes through the farmer's market, and people coming through and buying your food, talking about it, and the next week coming back and talking about what recipes they did and how they used it, and providing that feedback. We absolutely love doing the farmer's market. Some of the ideas around our approach to growing. So our field is really sandy loam soil, a little bit more on the sandy side. So it warms up very quickly after the winter is over, which is fantastic. We are really lucky. We have incredible water on our area. The back part of our property is a ravine, so a lot of the water from the ridge kind of gets. Sorry, we're behind the IMC, a couple of properties behind the IMC. So a lot of that water just runs right into our aquifer, and it's beautiful water and it's plentiful water. What we didn't really know is, well, number one, how to farm. And so I did a lot of research on that as a librarian. You'll see that later. We don't keep any animals on the farm. We had talked about it at first, but since we are a micro farm, we really don't have that kind of space. And that brought up a lot of questions around, you know, fertility and how do we get the right type of nutrients into the soil if we don't have animals running around. So we do soil tests every single year, of course, and we take their recommendations, especially for things like nitrogen, and we basically do about a quarter of what they recommend. What we find is a lot of those recommendations for amendments are just too high. And so there's a really good book that actually Brendan pointed me out to, What Your Food Ate. And it talks about the stress that plants have when you don't, feed them too many chemicals and nitrogen and stuff like that. And the flavor profile, the nutrition profile, because they're really struggling to get minerals out of the soil, is actually higher. And also because we are on an area that is right next to Fisherman's Bay, we're very conscious of runoff and not bringing more nitrogen into Fisherman's Bay. So we use a very, very small amount of nitrogen in our amendment process. And I have to tell you, I think it works really, really nicely. Let's see, what else? Irrigation, like I said, we have really good water, but we still wanted to take to really recognize that water is precious on this island. And so we started off with overhead sprinkler systems and quickly realized that was just a complete waste of water for the way we wanted to farm. So we moved to drip irrigation systems, and now we're slowly dialing back the amount of water we use even in the drip irrigation systems and really trying to go to as minimal as possible. So for our tomato crops, we turn those off entirely like the first week of June, and they don't get a lick of water the rest of the summer, and they do just fine. Let's see, so this is our last farmers market. I got the opportunity to start working at the Lopez Library. And when I did that, we really had to make a decision about farming and librarian, I guess it's called. And because farming is a complete full-time job. And to do it right, you really need to be focused on it. And so we had to pull back from the farmers market. And so now we do a lot of selling on the food hub, Salmon Island's food hub, as well as direct to restaurants. But like we say, there's only one library and there's lots of fantastic farmers. So, focusing my time on the libraries is something that is something I believe a lot in. It's great to have two wonderful loves of your life and be able to do both of them at the same time. So when we did pull back from the farmers market, it actually allowed us to focus on some other things that we've been wanting to do. Since we started the farm, we've been moving so fast and furious that one of the things that we felt like we weren't doing it as well was really understanding what we were bringing to market. And so in 2023, the first year we did the farmers market, it freed us up to do a year of research and development. And so we grew about 538 different varieties of plants. And it was the most enjoyable and insightful year because we would take 12 different varieties of pole beans and grow them side by side and watch how they grew, how vigorous they were, how productive they were, were they disease resistant, pest resistant, what type of irrigation did they require or not require. And this is a good picture of what happens as a result. Side by side, same timing and everything, and you can look at the productivity on the one on the right versus the productivity on the one on the left. But we didn't let that make our final decision on what we're going to be growing in future years. We also did a lot of taste and flavor, understanding the flavor profiles. So in this case, we actually chose the bean on the left because it tasted so much better, and we really want to bring that high quality to our customers as well. We did it with everything. Bok choy leaves, we would take leaves from like 12 different bok choy plants, and we would cut them up and eat them just raw. Then we'd do a little bit of salt and try them with salt, and then we'd saute them and saute them and eat them that way. And so what I feel like what we have now is an inventory of the best that we're trying to bring to the San Juan Islands food hub and to the restaurants in the area. I could be remiss without showing my bookshelf. So this is a bookshelf that I refer to quite a lot. The one book on the left-hand side is The Market Gardener by Jen Fortier. If you haven't read that one, that was kind of my entry point. And that's one of the books I read in one of those dark winter days here on Lopez Island that got me hooked. So I'm just gonna end right there. This is probably not a fair photo for a farmer to put up because we don't ever really put our feet up like that. All right, thank you.